I saw a video recently where a Christian was talking about the evils that may be lurking inside video games. And I didn't watch the whole thing, I just kind of skimmed by it. So I don't know exactly what he had to say, but it appeared to be the general consensus that there's allusions to things that are evil, things that are demonic in video games and entertainment, and that those are things which are not aligned with Christian values and should be avoided. And I thought that's an interesting topic to discuss, and I do have a lot to say about it, really. And the first thing that came to my mind is when we talk about evil, it's easy to conjure the picture of the crooked-nosed witch that's going to be eating Hansel and Gretel later on this evening. And it's easy to conjure images of something grotesque that may appear in a fantasy setting. And I will say that it feels like when things get really, really dark and there's not any narrative purpose to it other than dark fantasy for the sake of being dark, I have to question to a point where that comes from. If you think that it's fun to focus on things that are really, really sick and twisted and evil, and the more evil it is, the more intrigued you get by it, well, I have to reach the conclusion that potentially the content of our heart is revealed to some degree in the pastimes that we choose to be entertained by. If you celebrate suffering in movies and games, then maybe you are a person who has something a little bit twisted going on in your heart. I think that that's pretty fair. That being said, though, there's a lot of different reasons why you can have dark themes as narrative devices. And that does not mean that if there's a dark theme in a game or a movie that we're embracing darkness. For example, The Walking Dead comes to mind. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it does have its cool elements. And it's all about the zombie apocalypse, and it's definitely got kind of grotesque themes in play there. But the overarching message of a show like that isn't really necessarily about celebrating evil. It's about people who find themselves in dark circumstances, working together to triumph over that darkness. And if the purpose of the narrative plot is to tell the story of redemption, to tell the story of people doing heroic things in dark times, then darkness and evil have their place and they should be there. But if it's something where you're, I don't know, role-playing the life of a serial killer, well, I've got to ask, like, why is that the entertainment that you really want to, spend your time thinking about? It's something that's come to my mind when I think about things like Grand Theft Auto, for example. I think that's probably a pretty cool game based on the graphics and the open world elements and all of the different things you can do. And yet it doesn't change the fact that the core mechanic of the game is to role play yourself engaging in a successful life of crime and mayhem. And we could certainly go down the path of saying, well, that's okay because it's sort of, releasing, it's an outlet, right? It's an outlet for us to maybe get it out of our system, if you will. But that's still not a really great expose on humanity. Like if I say I want to role play killing people so that I don't actually kill people because I actually might want to kill people, well, that's not something that sounds very good. Or I want to play, a game about robbing and stealing because I think I would like to rob and steal, but I know I shouldn't, so I can, get it out of my system in a video game. I think that's pretty unhealthy, right? And I'm not saying that people who play some particular game are evil, but I do think that the type of things that you get entertainment from do say something about what kind of a person you are. And I've thought even about games that are like war games and stuff like that. Again, it comes back to what is the narrative purpose and what is the kind of storytelling that is in play. If we're playing a game like Civilization, yes, there's a combat element there, but the theme of the game is a love of and a study of history. It's not a celebration of gratuitous violence. But I do feel a little bit unsettled by the games that tend to focus on a lot of violence for no apparent reason other than just that violence is cool. There's games which have a lot of active combat in them, and that, again, I think is just fine if it's intended to be something that is not glorifying violence. But if you're getting off on as much gore and blood and realistic combat grit as possible, I guess I kind of wonder, like, why is that? Why is the art of killing people your main attraction? Why does it why is it such a strong pull? And like I get it, like even an RPG is going to have some form of combat, and that's normal. But I think there's a difference between combat which is stylized in a way that's not intended to glorify violence, and games that really focus on trying to present the idea of harm as something that is fun and admirable. And I think that's something we should be a little bit cautious of. I do also think, as a caveat, kind of to play devil's advocate, there's a point where you can take things too far if you overthink it, right? Like I could even look at the game that I'm playing right here, right now, and say, this game is bad because it's got combat in it, and that's not really the message that I'm trying to convey, because I think it's all kind of general. It's something you should follow your gut on. And if it feels kind of questionable, it probably is, that's just where I'd land on it. And I think it's not the same if you're just, you're doing kind of a cute little game that's designed to be inoffensive and inclusive overall, or you're playing a game which is all about, tons and tons of guns blazing and all of that. But again, it comes down to what is the story being told? Why, right? Like Tomb Raider, for example, it comes to mind as a game which is all about combat mechanics, but the story of the game is a benevolent story. It's not about someone doing the wrong thing. It's about adventure. It's about discovery. It's about, maybe in some of the games, it's about finding a way home or protecting yourself from evil or defeating evil. So if that's the theme, then that's okay. But if it's something where, you're role playing the gang life on the streets of Miami or something, well, maybe there's better things you could be doing. All that being said, though, the other side of what I wanted to talk about is the question of what really is evil. Like, what really constitutes evil? Like, is it a video game? Well, probably not. I think there's a lot of things that are more evil than anything you would find in a video game. But if there is evil in games, I also think it's probably not the stuff that a Christian pundit would have to say as evil. Like, it's not going to be that demonic character or that there was a spell being cast in a pentagram somewhere. Like, that's not really evil. Like, maybe evil, if you wanted to really think about it, maybe playing a war game that glorifies violence is evil. What about that? Because when you think about it, if there's a single thing that we should be trying to do as a human species, is to create a world where war is not something that we partake in anymore. And yet, we think that it's perfectly fun and enjoyable to go load up a war game and go shoot up other players in a multiplayer match. I mean, I enjoy playing World of Warships, World of Warplanes, World of Tanks. Those games, I've gotten fun out of them. I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't play them. That's not really the message I'm getting at. It's just, when I see somebody say there's evil out there in the world that we need to safeguard ourselves from, that we need to somehow protect ourselves from these bad influences. I wonder why it is that it's really easy to hone in on things like sexual themes or magic or something like that, if you're one of the Christian crowd. And yet things that actually maybe glorify actual harm to people, those things don't really strike the same sort of furor or offense. You've got to kind of wonder if our indignation is misguided. If we think that things that look evil should be avoided, except for the things that are evil, which we choose to call good. That it's fine for us to do things which are evil in real life, but we'll take the high road and make sure we take a stand against virtual evil that exists as a form of entertainment in a computer. See, I think the greater issue, like, yes, we can debate, should you be playing Grand Theft Auto, or are war games a good thing for society, and all of those kinds of things. We could debate that. And I would say it's a gray area, and you should just follow your conscience. And where I draw the line is just, I don't put a bunch of time into things which I think are excessively focused on gratuitous violence. That's where I would land on it. Where everyone lands on it is their own interpretation and journey, and there's no right or wrong answer there, in my opinion. But I do think the elephant in the room is that we like to point out the speck in our brother's eye when we have a beam in our own. And I think there's a lot of people who will have something to say about what is right and wrong, and they will make a big deal out of certain things. They'll say, well, you know, you're on the path to hell if you're doing certain things which are sinful. But if you look at what those people are doing in their lives, like people are doing things that actually harm people, and they draw attention to things that they think of as being sinful, which don't really do harm to anyone. It's like the guy that is a part of the church and says you shouldn't work on a Sunday, but then, you know, he is abusive to his wife or something behind closed doors. Like the big things, like the stuff that really hurts people, those things we sweep under the rug. And then we focus on the trifle, right? The things that don't really matter. Those things we focus on because those are easy to focus on. It's kind of like how if you have a life you're not satisfied with, you're frustrated in life, it's easy for you to complain about your job. It really has nothing to do with the job, because the job just is what it is. The real issue is the stuff you can't actually talk about, the dissatisfaction in your marriage or other things that are haunting you. But it's really easy just to, you know, attribute your life problems to something that somebody said at the office. It's important for us to let go of the things that are not a big deal and pick our battles. Because the truth of the matter is, what video games people play is not high on the list of evils in the world. Real evil in the world usually is wrapped in what appears to be good intentions, and it does enduring harm to other people. Real evil is things like childhood hunger in the undeveloped world. Real evil is all of the passive manipulation that happens in life, which prevents people from finding lasting and enduring peace during life's journey. Or it's actual harm that people do to others when they're charged with protecting them, but instead they choose to do harm. Real evil usually doesn't look evil, and that's the closing point I would land on. If it looks demonic and it's wrapped in flames and pentagrams, that's probably not going to be the thing that does the most bad in the world. It's going to be the people who say that they know what's best for somebody else. The people who will take away the freedom of others because they think that they would like to play God in the lives of other people. It's all of those kinds of things. It's the banality of evil, the simple everyday things which wind up having lasting negative impacts on people's lives in a real measurable way. But they don't really look like they're really bad at all. So I would challenge all of us to focus less on the external things, the superficial things, the things that are easy targets to fixate on and debate, the political things, the stuff that makes excellent clickbait. We should let go of those things and then pick our battles and choose to focus on doing better about the things that are actually really important, but not really all that interesting to bring up. Like being more loving to others, like treating other people as you'd wish to be treated. Or as the Wiccan Reed puts it, to do as you wish, but to do no harm. If we could live our lives focused on doing no harm to others, and we could make that our ethos, I do think that the things we would be entertained by would probably change. But to say you shouldn't play a game because it's evil is sort of like looking at the effect instead of the root cause. If we are entertained by things that are evil, then we should focus first on that which is good. And then the things which will entertain us will change and evolve as a result. But the first step shouldn't be trying to censor things, trying to force people to let go of things that they enjoy. It should be to focus first on doing good and on meditating on things that bear good fruit in our lives, and to focus on service to things that are greater than ourselves, to have that attitude of stewardship in everything we do in life. And then all other things will probably fall in line once we get to a point where we learn to approach life from a place of love. As always, good luck on your adventures. Till next time. Thanks so much.